Hello, and welcome to Monumental, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries, and big thinkers making monumental change. Here's your host, Evan Holiday.
Welcome to Monumental. This is Evan Holiday, your host of Monumental. We're excited to be here today with a friend of mine. We previously met at a mastermind almost about a year ago, the Best Ever Conference in Denver or outside of Denver. But today we're welcoming in Ketan Patel. Ketan, great to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm very excited to chat and reconnect.
Yeah, likewise. So real quick, before we get into Keaton's background and today's episode, I just want to give a little shout out to all of our monumental listeners. You guys listening right now, you guys are the lifeblood of this podcast. And anything you can do to help share this podcast, either through social media or sharing it with a friend, letting us know you're listening, and also sharing that value, that would mean the world to me. And also, those that you're sharing this with. And also, if you could, please subscribe, rate, and review after listening to today's podcast. That really helps us grow the monumental audience and help impact more people throughout the world. And so, again, thank you all for monumental listeners. So let's dive right into a little bit of Ketan. And so Ketan is a high performance coach who helps motivated real estate entrepreneurs create more income and impact. I love that you have impact right there in your bio, by aligning their thoughts, emotions, and actions. His achievements include earning an accelerated doctorate of pharmacy degree while learning English. That's pretty phenomenal. Building a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio by starting from $8,000, and raising over $10 million for his multifamily syndication business and growing a senior care business by a factor of 3 in just 2 years. So Ketan, let's just start by giving everybody a little bit of your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yes, so originally I'm an immigrant from India, and I came to this country not speaking a word of English, and I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I got my doctor of pharmacy, and then I realized that at the end of the day, having one income stream and relying on the corporate job is not a good strategy. And moreover, I got in more touch with my values, the entrepreneurship, the freedom, the creativity, which had no place in my corporate career. So then I decided to jump into real estate and buy a single family home. I didn't really had a game plan. I knew nothing about syndication or personal development or anything like that, but I knew that I had to take that first step, and that's how it all started, from that first single family home.
I love it. Diving in real quick, you mentioned like the first thing you said is starting out as an immigrant into the United States. What was that like coming here? So you didn't speak English when you first moved here, is that right?
Yes.
Wow. So what is that pathway like for others out there that are looking for opportunity or moving to the United States? What that must be. A lot of our listeners are like, hey, I have a lot, I need to overcome to get to my goals. But that in itself seems like a lot to go through and to work through and to be able to learn English and learn a new culture, learn a new place, get adjusted. What is that like?
So what I realized is we all get handed our challenges in different flavors. Somebody has vanilla, somebody has strawberry. And I knew that for me at that time, I could read English and I got the basic understanding, but I've never spoken English. And this is a new country. And I'm working 30 to 40 hours at a liquor store and trying to, get into the pharmacy school. And I knew at that moment that I really have to master this particular challenge, and I have to accept the situation. It is what it is. How can I make the best of it? And for somebody else, they might not have that challenge, but they might have some challenge related to time or family commitment or feeling like they don't have the network and some other flavor. And I really knew that if I'm not mastering the language, everything's just basically going to be at a standstill. So really going deeper and not just thinking that, hey, if I make this investment, I'm going to make some passive income. It's not about that. What are the other layers underneath it? that are very, very important, that drive you, that move you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so walk us through, you said that, you started with $8,000. Um, in real estate investing, obviously we know, you and I know that there's ways that you can get into investing with little or no money down, but also it seems like man, $8,000, how do you get started with just $8,000?
So here's the funny story, right? This basically was $106,000 deal. So I needed about 25,000 or so. And I was like, man, this is a big amount for me right now. Why don't I found two other pharmacist partners? They agreed to partner with me and give me $8,000 each. So I was like, okay, my problem sized down from 25 to 8. Now I had no $8,000. So what I did is, I'm like, either I have an option to just take this excuse, I don't have the money, I cannot grow, or do something about it. So what I did was, for 2 months, I pumped every single dollar from my paycheck into a 401k with my employer, and they were matching it. So I put the 4,000, they matched the 4,000, that became 8, and I could took it all out, or certain numbers I can't remember, as a loan, and I took that amount out as and combined with my partners to basically buy that first property. And I learned later on from Tony Robbins that the resourcefulness is the real skill in developing that. And then I used the same technique to buy a senior care business when I had no money, just, figuring out creative financing, and use the same concept.
Yeah, resourcefulness is I mean, if you think about anyone that has the mindset of, I'm going to get it done no matter what, I'm going to be resourceful no matter what, uh, they usually power through and they figure out a way, one way or another. They exhaust all options until they find the one that works. Um, is that something that you picked up through reading Tony Robbins, or how did you pick up that mindset?
At that time, I wasn't into personal development. I've never really, listened to any podcast. This is back in 2012, 2013. The world was a little different place at
Yeah.
that time. But I just knew at the core of me that it's just either me getting over this thing, or if I'm not taking this action, I'm not really getting to my goals at the end of the day. And I don't know the bigger picture yet. I don't know the other challenges, but I need to tackle with this. And prior to this, I have tried a bunch of business ventures that didn't go anywhere. So I moved on, moved on, moved on. And then this thing came. So my mind was ready that, okay, we need to tackle and, take these actions.
And you mentioned using the same resourcefulness to take down a senior care business, with none of your own money. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So walk us through that. What is that like? First off, buying a business, and second off, doing it with none of your own money.
So first, what happened was I started buying these. I bought that single family, and then I got a couple investors, and I bought another single and a triplex, and I started growing that rental portfolio. But I realized to replace my pharmacist income, it's going to take me forever. So I realized the
Yeah.
importance of strategy, and I knew in that moment I need to create a strategy that works for me. It cannot be somebody else's strategy. I need to put some thought. So I knew that this real estate is going to be a little slower, and I always wanted to get an MBA. And then I had an idea, why don't I buy a business I know nothing about? I turn it around, that would be my real life
That'll be
MBA.
your MBA. Yeah.
So I started searching. I got the senior care business. I liked the multiple, the cash flow of the business, and I knew was related to seniors. I wanted to make an impact to seniors, give them services and all that stuff. The companion care, CNAs, nursing aides, all that stuff. So then I realized I don't have the money. So I figured out the seller was retiring. So I asked her to hold a note, and then I got a private investor, and I was very confident that within a year I would be able to pay both of them, which I was able to do. And then, you put a loan on the business, you use that to buy another property. Like, the thing basically continues. Then your ideas start to get evolved.
Hmm. I love that. As far as it sounds like, and through talking through other friends of mine who also buy businesses, it sounds like it is somewhat similar to real estate investing in that it's really just figuring out, what are the right pieces to make, where's the value add opportunity here, how can you kind of right the ship, and how can you creatively finance to make that happen.
Yes, so that's true. In the way, what I would like to add, what I've learned is always the two levels. The surface level is that technical stuff, adding value, creative financing, where can I get the money from? And those things are not that difficult to learn, right? We have all these
Mm-hmm.
resources, the books, podcasts, and videos and courses and things. But what happens is the layer underneath it. It's just when we feel like, okay, I don't have that time, that money, that energy, or the resource, whatever it is, networking. And that's when we really have to get real and go under the surface. Why is it so important for me to make it happen? And really understanding that it's not even about this project at all, but it's you finding that drive within you and making it happen, and that will give you so much more results, momentum. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
just go on a different path, which it's almost impossible to even think where it would lead you. So when you look at it that way, you have a different viewpoint to handle your challenges versus just getting dead in the track by the technical stuff,
Yeah.
surface level stuff.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into, and what you're really impacting people now through your coaching and your mentoring. And so you've mentioned impact in your bio. You mentioned impact with the senior care. I'd love to dive into how, or what got you to the point of saying, "Hey, I've learned a lot on my journey to success and fulfillment and freedom. Now I'd like to help other people on their journey."
Yes, that's a great question, right? So I never ever thought about becoming a coach. It wasn't in my thing. And I didn't even knew the coaching world at all. But I came across my coach, Trevor McGregor. And what happened was, at that time, I wasn't into personal development, but I got into personal development just to be a better real estate entrepreneur. And before you know, in 2, 3 years, I've done so many events with Tony Robbins, Wim Hof, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and the list goes on and on. And then it made me realize nobody that's seriously interested in real estate would put this much time, energy, and money into this. I absolutely loved the mind body connection and really, tweaking our stories and having strategies and clarities. And I loved it so much that it just became me in a way. And then I realized, okay, this is what I need to be doing because I'm having fun with it. I'm very passionate. And then I evolved that into a high performance coaching practice.
That's amazing. And what for you with the high performance coaching? I mean, how did you get started through that path? Going into coaching could be daunting for those listening. How, if one of our listeners wanted to go down that path and they're thinking the same thing of like, hey, I would really enjoy and I would get a lot of fulfillment out of helping others. I've had a lot of success. I want to share that and mentor and guide other people on their journey. How does one go about that?
Yeah, so, and a lot of this comes from our own journey as well. And I knew that real estate, I'm getting successful. Slowly things are working out. But eventually, what's going to happen if I look 5, 10, 15 years down the road? The success is going to be there, but the fulfillment, maybe something's missing for me, which the coaching piece brought it in, right? So, whoever that's interested, any of the audience member, they could start taking little steps in that direction to build their coaching practice, figuring out their niche and what are the key lessons and making the framework, their ideologies and things like that, making the models and, just taking the step to learn that business side of coaching, the marketing side of coaching and creating clients and serving clients and learning the underlying, transformation. When does transformation happen? And for me, all of that came because I really wanted to impact myself and I wanted to change my limiting beliefs, overcome my fears. And that's why I went too deep into it. And then I realized that I love being in that world and communicating, educating people with it. And then organically that led me into that direction.
Yeah, I love that. And you said, it's about finding not just the success in the business side, but also the fulfillment. Um, how how do you, when you're working with your clients, how do you, and for our monumental listeners, what advice would you have as far as, if they're seeking to find that fulfillment?
So I'll give you a master strategy. We'll try to, sum it up. So what happens in the business of real estate is everybody wants to acquire X amount of units or portfolio or dollar amount. And then I ask them what's going to happen after that. And for the most part, hey, I want freedom. I want appreciation that, I've done something, I'm worthy, I'm significant, I'm impacting people. It's certain feelings. I want security. I never have to worry about money. And if you compact all those feelings at the end of the day, all it comes down to is basically I want to feel good. If I summarize it all,
Yeah.
it's I want to feel good. Then my question becomes, how is it possible to be at that stage where right now you're not taking advantage of what you have? You already have financial freedom right now. You already have time freedom. You have 1 hour a day that you could do absolutely anything you want. But if we are anxious and neurotic and we just cannot wait to get where we want, do we really think that getting to that point is just going to change everything? And this really resonates with people. So what I'm suggesting is go after your goals. You could even double or triple the goals. But remember, at the end of the day, you are chasing feelings that those goals will provide you. Nothing wrong with it, but you have to start shifting the way you feel and think right now, because just making that $5 million a year or having the portfolio is not really going to shift everything if you've been accustomed to think and feel in a certain way. So you could do very, very small things right now. Take care of yourself, do things that you absolutely love, and enjoy the work that you do. So that journey is just going to be so much fun for you that you wouldn't even care as much if it actually happened. And that's when it will happen, and your time's going to be shortened too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love that. I wrote it down. The line you said, you're chasing the feelings that those goals will provide you.
Yeah.
And so we always strive, I think, our goal oriented, success oriented society, and those that are really driven, and our monumental listeners, we're all driven by, goals of, like you said, like number of units per year, revenue per year, profit per year, whatever it is, like it's always a number. But I think you need to like peel back the onion and say, what's going to happen when I have that number? Like what feeling am I going to have? And am I going to be happy, excited, joyful, fulfilled, content, all those words. I think people, as they're like racing, they forget that, hey, this is actually why we're doing this. We're doing this because it makes us happy and content.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what for you, what makes you content? What makes you happy?
So for me, learning is a big thing. When I'm learning new things, I'm very, very content. Sharing the information, and when people, find the information insightful, that really lights me up. When they're like, "Wow, I never thought about this way," or the perspective, right? Making the transformation in clients' businesses, clients' life, that really drives me. Talking with investors, moving them through the education piece, and showing them that you should invest. It's not about making the return on the first deal, but it's opening a window of opportunity. What else could
Mm-hmm.
come from this, right? That really impacts me, basically learning and sharing the messages so everybody's growing.
Yes. Um, and as far as finding that, like going back to the fulfillment and impact piece, what have you seen has worked best for your clients of being able to have that impact through their work?
Yeah, so the big piece, the big message is that, the way we are thinking and feeling and acting is going to show in the business. So it's just learning about ourselves, right? What are those limiting beliefs that maybe, hey, I'm 36, I haven't made it here
Yeah.
yet, or those things that are draining your power, that are draining and everybody has those beliefs, right? Maybe I thought by this time I should have done this, or why are things not working for me, the disappointment or whatnot. So figuring out what that thing is for you, and then slowly putting some strategies and actions into place to getting rid of that thing, basically, or minimizing the impact that has. And then I went through that cycle as well, where I was like, wow, I only raised this much, I've only done this much, and that never ends. The goalpost kind of keeps moving. When you get to that point where you have bought 500 units, your mind's going to be like, it's only 500, other people have 5,000
Exactly.
units in their portfolio, what are you doing? It just doesn't
Yeah.
end. So it's just knowing your particular flavor. Are you too self-critical? You are just not happy with your work, you are just perfectionist, or you are just working so hard and so long that you just don't even have time for the family, and you have lost, your outcomes and your strategies. You are just putting the hours and just, not being aware of it. So it could be different for any of us. So it's just figuring out what is that for you. That's what I help people figure out, and then working on that.
Yeah. And I think, and through my experience in coaching as well, I think it always helps to think about it, and really broadly, even outside of coaching, just anytime you're trying to get to the root issue of something, or the root problem, or the thing, that the domino that could knock over all other dominoes of problems, and help you get toward the path that you want to be on, is typically starts with really good questions. I think that's key in life and coaching too, is how do you ask questions of yourself, how do you ask questions of others, and how do you decipher uh, and get to the root problem or the root issue of things. I think that in itself is one of the most valuable skills, and of a coach and of yourself as well.
You are 100% right. You hit a very, very important point. And that reminds me that one day when I was working at the pharmacy, when all this thing hadn't happened, I asked myself a question. What if they pay me $1 million a year and ask me, you don't even need to check prescriptions, drink as much coffee as you want, go in and out whenever you want? And my immediate answer was no to that. And I was surprised. Why would I turn that down? That just does not make any sense to me. And that really, basically dazzled me. And then I started thinking, and that's when I got into understanding my values and drives and all of those things. So sometimes people are looking for answers, but instead of that, they need to ask the right questions, like you
Yep.
mentioned. That will change the game, rather than looking for answers to the wrong question.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it could even relate even more so too, like just of how a lot of us, myself included, sometimes we get into this um, path of not even paying attention to what we're doing and just doing it to do it, or just like the idea of like social media as an example, like we just consume, right? We don't think about why we're consuming, but we consume it, and so I think taking time, setting aside time, being intentional about, hey, I'm going to set aside time to journal. I'm going to set aside time to meditate. I'm going to set aside time to ask myself, big questions about my life and where I'm going. Because it's amazing. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and you probably know this as well as I do. But there's so many people that are like, I don't really know where I want to go in life. And, it's as simple as asking yourself that question, giving yourself time to respond to yourself, and think about it without 100 distractions. Um, but people don't set aside that time and be intentional about it. So then they don't know where they're going.
Yes, and that's a great point. And something that has helped me for the last 5 years is that mostly every Friday, pre-COVID world, I would always go to my favorite coffee shop. I'll shut my phone down and I would have 2 hours when
Hmm.
I'm not thinking about my business, but I'm on top of my business. I'm not thinking about my challenges in the life. I'm on top of the life. I'm really,
Yeah.
really reflecting. How did this week go? Where did I spend my time? Where did I spend my energy? energy. And is
Yeah.
that really bringing me to where I want to go? The answer is no. Then it's okay. No need to freak out, but it's just bringing an opportunity to be aware. So next week, I'm not going to repeat that behavior. Right. And then week by week, if you could spend an hour or two just really focusing on these things, it's going to be a slow process. But before you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 months are going to go by and your awareness level is going to grow very, very high. And now you will get more and more conscious of how you're spending time, what actions you're taking, what actions you're avoiding, decisions you are taking, decisions you are not taking. And that will really like create a momentum. So I would highly recommend, 1 hour a week is actually not that much time at all, just to ask some critical questions in a setting where you're not distracted by anyone or anything.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as far as I'm just curious, like for you specifically, do you have mentors or people that you look up to or aspire to be like, or people you really just look up to?
Absolutely. So I look up to Dr. Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, Wim Hof. Those are like my three big mentors. And then I believe in coaching and all this work as well. So I have my business coach and marketing coach and personal trainer, because there's so many things that are happening. And to really master a particular area, to grow faster, we absolutely could use an outside opinion and
Yep.
somebody who has spent so much time and energy there, versus trying to learn all by ourselves, which we can do, but is it really important to really do all that? So
Yeah. Um, well, I love that perspective. As far as what's on the horizon for you and your business and your clients and your impact, what does that look like for you?
yeah, so I'm working on eventually everything I'm teaching to my clients, building a process around it. So I have the framework of the material, so I could write books about it and just have trainings created so it could impact more people, because there's only so many people you could talk to one-on-one basis, right? And then raising capital, the same thing. Just wanted to formulate the business a little better from what I've learned in the last 3 years, put in more systems in place, more processes in place, because that's where actual business is created instead of just getting results. So doing those things, fine tuning things and finding little gains here, little gains there, right? And making those tweaks and seeing how that it's taking me faster in the direction I want to go. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. It's amazing what process and systems and dialing in on your process and your systems, and how if you can figure out how what makes you successful and put that in a digestible system, then you can very easily transfer that to so many others, and that's powerful. And we're doing the same thing with Holiday Ventures. So I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's dive into our monumental questions. What
Yes.
does success mean to you?
Success to me means impacting people and myself and having fun doing what we are doing, and also going through those challenges, uncomfortable moments, and just exploring and growing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about daily habits or morning rituals that you have?
I absolutely do the meditation every morning.
Nice. Yeah, I fell off of the meditation train for a while, but I'm back on, and I've missed it, and I love it. Highly recommend it. Just gives you that clear level head. Last question: favorite book or book you are currently reading?
Currently reading, I finished the Atomic Habits by James Clear,
Yeah.
and it's a very, very powerful book. He's summarizing everything in terms of how we really forget how these little changes and shifts really impact into a bigger thing. So really nice overview on habits and everything related to habits. So recommend that book.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Ketan, phenomenal episode. I love hearing your story and how you're so much driven by impact and helping others, and sharing your journey, as well as helping others on their journey, and being able to combine that with real estate investing. I mean, that's the beauty of it, is impact and long-term wealth generation and impact. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And it was great chatting with you. Thank you.
Yes. Where can our Monumental listeners follow you or reach out to you or connect with you?
Yeah, so you could go on my website, ketanpatel.com. That's KETANPATEL. And there you'll see link to my YouTube. I also have a guide, 5 pillars of peak performance, that you could download by entering your email, and other resources and training as well.
Yes. Ketan, thank you so much. Awesome episode again. Guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know. Tag Ketan, tag myself on social media or LinkedIn or wherever. And guys, with that, have a monumental day.